So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
Life is hard. It's a truth we know all too well. But the Stoics taught us that instead of looking at life in the construct of being hard, that we could look at life in the construct of an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to expand our horizons, per se. Seneca compared life to wrestling, a metaphor that indicates, highlights the struggles associated with life. And I think it's poignant. Marcus Aurelius echoed this sentiment, reminding us that the art of living is a battle worth fighting. But let's talk about it outside. Let's get outside, talk about it. See you outside. Marcus Aurelius was right. It is a battle, and it is a battle that we can actually win. And I'm going to share 4 things with you that I think has helped me along the way, and I think if exercised and practiced correctly with tolerance, could and may work for you. But it's a battle. It's a battle. Life is hard, and it's a battle, but we can fight the good fight and win. And the 4 I want to share with you, you might have heard of them before, but I want to give you a different context on them, and that's the dichotomy of control. And I'll expand on that here shortly. But the dichotomy of control, cultivating and trying to live as close to or as in line with the 4 virtues, practicing negative visualization. And you're like, what? But I'll explain that too here shortly. And then, of course, there is amor fati. And I'll start with amor fati. And like I said, you might have heard of it before, but it's loosely translated from Latin to our love of fate. And that can be a little problematic because no one likes to go through troubling times. But the Stoics' concept is if we embrace the times that are good, then we should also embrace those times that aren't so good. And I tend to agree with that. And look, like I said, it is not easy to do by any stretch of the imagination. And you'd probably ask, how do you get after that? And I have this really simple explanation that I like to give people, and it's not even mine. I just think it's profound because I grew up believing in that concept myself. And it's pretty much a 2014 commencement speech by Admiral McRaven. And he was talking about a few things, but the one that I found more profound is making your bed. And he tells it better than I do, so I'll let him tell it to you.
Training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
So what did you think about that? Pretty cool, huh? Some people don't believe that, though. When I first met my wife, it was the hardest thing trying to convince her that that's a thing. But I get it. But just little things like that, though. Making your bed, I mean, life is going to throw you some obstacles, that is for sure. It is not intended to be easy, but embrace those as opportunities for growth and empowerment. And then there is the dichotomy of control. Right? Admitting to ourselves and embracing and realizing that we can only control the things that we can, such as our emotions, our feelings, our reaction to the natural world. And then on the flip side of that, understanding that we cannot control those external forces that act against us. The universe throwing us obstacles every single day, meeting unkind people, mean people. But yeah, we can only control our emotions, our feelings, and our reactions to the natural world. And that is the philosophy of the dichotomy of control. Understanding that we're only in control of what we can control. Yeah, and look, I know it's easier said than done. And if you thought that one seemed a stretch or even impossible in some respects, try practicing negative visualization. And you're like, why would I want to do that and add more stress to my life, Warren? We're talking about getting rid of it. And I get it. Sometimes the Stoics can be a little daunting. They can be a little daunting to understand. But if you practice it, and if you're not new to the channel, you know that my journey's been for the past, it's going on 16 years now. And if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for hanging out. But yeah, practicing negative visualization. And what that means is for us to envision negative scenarios. And by envisioning those negative scenarios, for instance, what if tomorrow financially everything falls apart for you and it is life underneath the underpass, right? if you envision that, then you are more inclined to be equipped with the resilience to face such a scenario. And that doesn't mean not planning for the scenario in its actuality, but by doing the thought process of putting the scenarios in your head and playing them out, that stress test, for lack of a better word or term, that stress test that you're putting yourself through is the end result that you're seeking. That is to be more resilient should the scenario occurs. So yeah, it's a little daunting in its term, but in practice it actually does work. And that doesn't mean to dwell, all right? Because I know some of us, we dwell on everything. But it doesn't mean for us to dwell. It just means think of the things that you would worry about at night. Play those scenarios out and build that mental resilience for unlikely should they occur for us, right? But yeah, and none of this is easy, but the Stoics, through their teachings, I think, have prepared us. And look, I know lately when we talk about, or when we're talking about Stoicism, like the things that make us better, it seems and can be superficial. And some people can take it beyond what it's meant for. Stoicism is a mindset. It is just a mindset, a mind shift, a paradigm shift not for everyone around you. It's just for you. It's a paradigm shift for you, for your critical thinking, opening that third eye. It's all it is. It doesn't require retreats and expensive programs and groups, and nothing against practicing yoga and all of those nuances that comes with practicing Stoicism. Some of it is superficial, some of it is fake, but the real practice is just a mind shift, just a paradigm shift for your mind. All right? So don't overthink it. Don't be frightened by it. It's just what it is. Opening our third eye and starting to free ourselves with critical thinking. In a rock. This is, but it's heavy and it shouldn't be here, I don't think. This is definitely some kind of, you could even see the layers. Let me show you this. And I don't know what it is, but it's not an ocean rock. I'm not sure if it's shale or granite of some kind. This thing, though, look at that. Oh, I'm shaking. I think this thing probably weighs about 5 pounds. Definitely not an ocean rock. And the last thing I want to share with you are things that, be you secular, non-secular thinking, practicing a unique type of, and I use the word unique because our society does, when things aren't in our wheelhouses, we tend to give them labels. But I'm human too, so for lack of a better word, those unique practices, religious type practices, you know, we're quick to judge. Being humble and humility aren't words that are in our vocab a lot lately. But the last four, well, the last one that I want to talk about contains the four virtues. And by now you know them to be justice, self-control, wisdom, and courage. And even though we know them, and I brought up being secular, non-secular, and whatever you believe in, at the core of any of those beliefs are these virtues, I think, or some offshoot of these virtues. And if you haven't already started to practice them, you have to. And look, like with most things I've talked about or we've been discussing today in our chat, nothing is easy, especially this one. And for instance, courage. And most people, when they hear courage, they think, you know, soldiers, first responders, brave people, superheroes. And our society has created that kind of mindset. But I'm talking about the courage to stand up to things that are wrong. And even worse, to be the only voice in the room and be that guy or that gal. It's tough. I know that. But these are the things we need to cultivate and work on to just be better. And that way life wouldn't be so hard, because we wouldn't overthink situations we get into in terms of speaking up. We think about that immediate pain of being dismissed, of being shunned. And vulnerability is a bitch. It is. It is. It just is. Jumping into the arena, man in the arena, is not easy. It's easily said, espoused, talked about, but it's not easily executed. So I get it, but courage, I think, is a tough one. And yeah, like all the others, we just have to work on them for them to actually work in our lives and make life not so hard. And then justice, just simple, being fair, questioning our assumptions, making sure that what our eyes initially see is what it is and not what we think we know. We need to verify. And one of the ways to do that, and you're like, here he comes with it, critical thinking, asking the hard questions, taking what we call in the military the tactical pause, and re-looking and reassessing quickly, because you might not have the time. I use the military example. And in the military, sometimes we don't have that time. But in life, take the 4 seconds, the 6 seconds, the extra minute, if you have it, to make a different decision. But that I think wraps up justice. You know, people like to spread that into right or wrong in groups. There is that, but in this case, I'm talking about you seeing right and wrong and you standing up for it. Not waiting for the system to do it, but us. That courage. Self-control. Self-control. With everything else that life throws at us, you're like, Warren, yeah, really. We have to. I mean, it's not easy. We have to control our emotions, right? It's one of the things that the Stoic says we are in control of, despite what the external world throws at us to trigger us acting on our self-control. But it's a tough one too, but it can be done, all right? It can be done. I mean, there were times while deployed where you heard of friends' convoys getting blown up, you know, of boys and gals out there on foot doing patrols and being IED'd, and you want to retaliate. You do. And you want everything that your eyes see, questioning our assumptions. You want everything that your eyes see to be real so that you can react, so that you take, dare I say, revenge. And that, I think, in combat is one of the biggest struggles, is self-control. Self-control. And I use that example because I think if you can take an 18, 19, 20-year-old soldier right out of high school, junior college life, and give them their full metal jacket and ask them to defend the nation and exercise self-control, I don't think there's much the civilian world can throw at you that you can't deal with. All right? So, a tough one, self-control. It is. And it ties into the others we've talked about so far. And then for all this to even work, for all this to work, we have to become smarter. Wisdom is the actual word, but it's big. I know that. Some people are afraid of that, and you could take it to mean whatever you mean in terms of, it's relative. The definition, I think, of wisdom, it's relative. It's up to, whomever is doing the practice. Hey, guys, if you're still watching at this point, you're rock stars, and I thank you. All right? I thank you. If you've come this far in the video, thank you very much for sticking around. But I mean, I think the wisdom that I advocate for comes with just practicing critical thinking, just asking the tough questions. And again, not to be confrontational and be rogue, but just to be wiser and understanding our purpose and why we're really here. And all of that encompasses, all that practice, those tough practices encompasses not having to look at life as being just so tough. All right? So yes, life is hard, but it's manageable. Marcus Aurelius says it's a battle, and it is. Epictetus says it's like wrestling, and it is. You get thrown down on the mat. You just have to pick yourself up, all right? That is the key. As philosophical and as cliche as that sounds, is when life knocks you down, just get back up. Get back up, go to your corner, get your countdown, and step back in. And take it, all right? Because in the end, it's all what it's worth. The work will be worth it in the end, all right? So, as always, be good out there, take care of yourselves, and you can do this, all right? And don't be so hard on yourself. Life is tough, but you're tougher, all right? So until next time, be good out there, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you.